And there he is, the manager of the Houston Astros, Joe Espada. Always great to see you, Joe. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us. Happy off season, although it never seems like you guys are really off. First, before we get into it, give us an update on Jose Altuve. Just had surgery to relieve that right foot discomfort. How's your boy?
He's doing well. This is something that has been hampering for a little bit for a couple of weeks. And obviously he finished his season playing through it, and we actually went in there yesterday and we got a little bit of work done trying to clean the area. But he's doing well. He should be back moving around and continue his off season workouts here in the next week or two.
Joe, first of all, I want to say thank you for reaching out because,
Yeah.
I don't like asking for people's phone numbers, especially managers, because then people, sometimes people are like, oh, you want a job? No, I don't want a job. But
No, you and I, we talked about it during the
no, I
season.
know.
And you invited me to the show, and I'm like, you know what? During the off season, we could do it. And I think this is a really great show. The dynamic between you and everyone on the show is great. So, it's an opportunity for me to come here and talk about our club.
Well, I appreciate it. Like I said, that's why I was thanking you for reaching out and coming on, being a man of your word. So I appreciate that. Yes, Altuve will be fine. He's going to hit 300. He's going to get 180 to 200 hits next year. He's fine. I don't worry about him. But you have new coaches, right? You brought in some new coaches. Can you tell us about your staff and how do you go about hiring new coaches, especially from guys that you've had around for a long time? You've been around for a while, and then they're gone, and you have new faces.
AJ, that's a good question. For me is trying to bring back, our identity back on who we are as a club. I've been here for 8 years, and our offense is great when we control the pace of the game and we all working together and we trying to win every at bat, every pitch. We trying to win first base. And I thought that we just needed a new voice when he came to on that aspect of our offense. And I can't, Alex Intron and Troy Snicker, tremendous hitting coaches. We've been part of an incredible run here, and they deserve a lot of credit to what we have accomplished. But I thought in this time that it was important for us just to bring a set of a new set of voices that can get our guys. Going again. And our group is changing a little bit. We got some younger players coming. We got some veteran players that I thought bringing a different way of doing things can get us back and getting our offense back and scoring a ton of runs.
Is this something that you saw possibly needing to change during the season, or was it sometimes when changes need to be had, it kind of happened a year or two before and you're like, hey, you know what, we stayed the course, we still had success? Or was it something that kind of changed this year when you lose a guy like Yordan Alvarez, when you trade a guy like Tucker?
Yeah, Kratz, it's a good question, and I think if we would have had those guys healthy the entire year, I think the outcome of our season would have been different. For me as a manager, and I'm in this position where I got to evaluate our staff. We as an organization, we evaluate in the direction that we want to go. This next wave for players that are coming, right? Do we have the right people in place to help us into the future? So this is something that we discussed for a while, and we end up, this decision was not easy to make.
Joe got a call. That's okay.
Well, he'll come back on.
Sometimes, hey, maybe what happened was the Astros were beating the Yankees all those years, and one of the things that they did was they took the Yankees minor league Wi-Fi, and that joke will never end. That joke will never end. But continue, Joe.
Do not disturb,
No,
Joe. Do not disturb.
no, sorry,
It's upsetting.
yeah, sorry. My phone hasn't stopped ringing, guys. We still, we trying to get prepared. Now that our hiring process is over, now we actually starting to talk about, the players and putting our team together, which excites me right now. Looking forward to our 2026 season.
Let me ask you this. When I think of the Houston Astros, Joe, I think it is synonymous with postseason play. And this season
Yeah.
was the first time since 2016 you guys haven't been in it. I can't, I mean, I don't even remember 2016. It feels like that long ago since you guys were not in the postseason. What was that like? Because you were still in it at the end. What was that like for
Yeah,
you as a manager? Because you take it, folks take it for granted that you're just always going to be there.
right. And it was very difficult. Trust me, it was not easy sitting at the house, watching postseason from the couch. Our players, obviously, it's something that we're not used to. This is going to create, it's going to put a chip on our shoulders. We want to get back. We know that we are a postseason team, and but it was not fun at all. We know exactly the things that we need to get on, starting to getting healthy, trying to keep our players on the field. Building a team that could sustain 162, hopefully 180, 180 games. So that's our focus. But it was not easy. I've been here now. This is my eighth season, and all we've known is postseason baseball. And our fans deserve that. Our organization deserves that, and most importantly, our players deserve that.
Okay, I got to, first of all, I've done the Houston Astros my entire postseason career. So this is the first year where normally my plane just takes off and just goes, whatever plane I'm on, it just goes to Houston, right? But this year, even this year, I was going to Seattle, and they were like, we might have to make a landing to drop somebody off in Houston. I was like, wait, what? I'm not going to Houston. So I don't know if it was my fault, Joe, or what, but I apologize that you guys didn't make the playoffs, because I've stayed enough at that 4 seasons right there that I have frequent flyer. I don't know if you have, although 4 seasons doesn't really do that. So that's not your problem. So I apologize that my plane tried to make an emergency landing so that you guys didn't make it. I apologize. But what I want to know is you brought
AJ,
something up.
I won't hold that. I won't hold that against you. There's a lot of things that happen throughout the season, and we learn from those things. And trust me, our focus right now is trying to make those things better, getting our players ready to play. I can't wait to get to spring training.
Dude, you're one of the most positive people I've ever been around in my life, okay? But you brought something up just a second ago, and I got to ask you. You said we're focused on getting players. All right, so give us the inside scoop. Dana Brown's not going to tell us, so Joe Espada, is Verlander coming back? Are you guys bringing Kyle Tucker back? Are you guys going and getting Bo Bichette to play? I don't know where, but he'll play somewhere, right? Who are you guys going to get? Tell us now.
You know what? I'm going to keep those. I'm going to keep those names to myself. But one thing I do tell you is that we are always, Dana and the front office. We're always looking for ways to improve our club. We have a very a strong core of players that we are very excited about. We got some younger players that we are going to give opportunities for them to develop at the major league level, and they're going to help us win games. But we are looking for ways to improve our club, either position player wise, and right now our main focus is on the pitching side of things. Obviously, there's someone like Framber Valdez who's going to be a free agent. We continue to speak to his camp about ways to bring him back if that's a possibility. But we're looking for ways to improve our club. We have a team that is ready to compete next season, and we still feel like that we're in a position to win the West. So we're going to look for every avenue that we can to improve our club.
All right, improving the club. When you talk about young guys, obviously the first name that comes to my mind is a guy you talked about in spring training, Cam Smith.
Right.
Cam Smith, what does he need to, I'm not going to say work on, but when you look at his numbers, you would say, okay, it's a tale of like 3 seasons, a slow start, hot middle, slow finish. What on the field do you need to see from him to be that star? I think your exact quote was, he can be a star one day. It's up to him. Or, once he learns, I forget exactly what you said, but what do you need to see from him on the field? Obviously his work, everybody's talked about his makeup, everything is off the charts. On the field, though.
You know what? For me, Kratz, you guys play in the big leagues for a long time. You and AJ, and as a manager, you need to have 2 things when it comes to young players. For me, is you need to give them time, and you need to be patient. We cannot rush those 2 things, right? I think if we put Cam in a position for him to succeed and give him time, he has the work ethic, he has the ability to do it. But we need to give this process some time. This is just going to be his sophomore year. in the big leagues. And I think his freshman year was a solid season. Is it more in there? Absolutely, but he barely played minor league baseball. He came into camp. He won a spot. We believe in him. We believe in his ability to be a right fielder for the future. But we just need to allow him to learn the league. He came out on the bat really well, and the league. What happens? The league's going to adjust to you, and he just needs to figure out a way to adjust to the league and what they're trying to do on the offensive side. And he is going to be able to do that. My job is to continue to provide an environment where he could be himself. He can continue to develop to the players that we know he can be, and just be patient. This kid's going to be a star, and I'm just super excited about the future. What holds up for him.
So you see Cam Smith as the future in right field for the Houston Astros. Joe, Dana Brown said that you guys need to firm up the offseason this winter. What does that mean to you?
You know what, and I think that's one of the aspects, right? Obviously Ken Smith is one of those guys that we want to give him the opportunity to take over that right field spot and run with it. And again, it's about being patient and allow him to do that. And I think this offseason is very important for him to take to grab right field and run with it. I think there's opportunity. We want to create opportunities for players like Zach Cole and Jacob Melton. They're dynamic players. They bring speed and they bring some power from the left side, something that we need in our offense to be a little bit more dynamic, to be able to take our game to the next level on the base path, be that athletic team that we've been in the past. And we have the pieces to do that. Another name that come to mind is somebody like Bryce Matthews, who came in and pretty much won us a series in Arizona. Creating more opportunity for these players to develop, help us win games, and at the same time, those players will help me give our veteran players some time to rest and recover in a very long season.
All right. On this show, we've talked about it, and it's a discussion I even had when I was playing. My opinion, there's usually 8 to 10 aces, true aces, in the game of baseball. Depends. It fluctuates every year. Is Hunter Brown an ace? And if not,
Absolutely.
An ace in the game?
Yes, I believe so. And not. I'm going to take away the performance. Like you do need to perform, right? I think performance goes with that description that you just said, right? You have to perform, but there's also an element that A's bring to a team which is every day he steps on the baseball field, the dynamic, the environment, the clubhouse just changes. We all feel like we're going to win that game, right? You go through stretches of games where you're not playing well. You can't wait for that ace to get on the mound so it could change the course of the series or the week, right? That's the description of an ace. That's number one. Number two, he brings this element of like humility, arrogance to him, where it's contagious to everyone, right? He's got an edge to him. JV had that edge. Garrett Cole has that edge, that level of confidence where he knows that today we have to win this game. Today I'm going to give our club 6-7 innings because our bullpen needs it, our team needs it, and Hunter Brown has developed into that A's mentality. And from moving on, now he's got to continue that consistency in his preparation and discipline. It's what is going to keep him in that level where when we talk about the A's, the Scoobals of the world, those guys are on a different level because of how consistent they are, not only on the performance but in their preparation.
All right, I got to ask about a guy who was your number one for a few years. Got into a sticky situation. The Framber cross up, no cross up on the show as catchers. I had some heated words about it. How did you handle that as a manager? How did you handle that when you saw it? Did you have the same feeling when you went back and saw it on video?
Chrissy, as the manager of the team, I want to hear from both sides, right? I know the type of competitor that Framber Valdez is. Know him for a very long time. This guy cares about winning. He's a competitor when he's on the mound. So instead of me reaching conclusions without talking to both Sally and Valdez, that's the way I diffused the situation. Obviously, Salazar was not happy about it, and I brought both guys in my office, and I wanted to hear from both sides. I wanted to what happened? Was it a cross up? And both guys said, Joe, yes, there was some miscommunication, and he threw the wrong pitch. I wanted to hear from both. I wanted to bring the fire down, because I know how heated the whole entire situation was. Also, we were playing the Yankees at the time, right? So when I come in my office after the game, it was a tough loss. I knew what social media was saying, right? I sat down with my PR department, and I knew I was going to be asked about this. So before I spoke to the media and I spoke to the rest of some of my players, I wanted to hear from both of them, and that's who went down. I think both players handled it well. Listen, we are a family, and during the season, stuff is going to happen, and there's fights between brothers, and this is what happens when you want to win so bad. Um, but we were able to turn the corner right around. The next day we came back and we beat the Yankees, and we continue to move on, and because we know how important it is to have everyone working together. So the whole entire scene did not look great, and I understand. But I think once I spoke with both players, and both players got on the same page, and we were able to move on.
Joe, along those same lines, you know Fromber better than anybody. We're not in the dugout. We're not in the clubhouse. Outside of the Houston Astros organization, there's a bit of a reputation that he's not a great teammate. I don't believe that you think that's the case, but I would rather hear it from you. What is he like as a teammate? I mean, he's a free agent, so what can people expect from Fromber Valdez if he's part of their organization?
I'll tell you what, if I'm a manager of the team, I want him on my team. I'm going to start with that. When he is on the mound, he's going to post, he's going to give you everything he's got. Right. For me, as what the definition of his great teammate is, where people just have different definition. They see it differently than everyone. Framber Valdez is well respected in our clubhouse. He's got a ton of friends. His work ethic is impeccable. He's strong as a bull. He poses every day. He wants the ball. He's someone who I want to go on a battlefield with. So I understand the reputation because of one event, one thing that happened, and people might reach conclusion to that. But I've been around him for 6, 7 years, and if I want to go into a dogfight, I want this guy to be right there next to me.
Okay. Is a good teammate the guy over your left shoulder in that picture? Are Astros fans okay with the other shoulder? Nope, the other shoulder. Nope, that one. Are Astros fans okay with you having that? No, the other one, not that one. Nope, the other shoulder. The other shoulder.
Okay, this shoulder.
That picture. Do you see the Yankee picture? Don't try to act like you don't have a picture of the Yankees over your shoulder. Like, don't.
I got you. But, all right. So what I'm going to do is before we finish here, I'll give you a little tour of the man cave, because
Okay,
I got the Marlins my first year
that's
with the
fine.
Marlins, and then I have my Yankee years over here, and my Astros days are.
Oh,
Somebody's
So many
calling. They're
calls.
pissed about the picture.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge just called.
I kept looking at that poster behind him. I was number 23 when I was on the Astros.
That's where I'm at. So, but yeah, a lot of respect for Judge.
Was that Judge calling you?
Yeah. That was actually my GM. Next time we get this call, I'll make sure that. No, but I can't, because we'll be on the phone for hours.
No, just tell Dana I said hi, because he was great when we had him on his spring training. So
I will.
tell Dana I said hi.
Over here, I got a picture of A-Rod actually breaking the record. I think it was the home run. I want to say it was a 3,000 hits, was a home run against JV. It's over here, and then a picture with David Wright, who one of my favorite players of all times. David Wright, coming up to the big leagues. I started with the Marlins, so I had an opportunity to coach against the Mets, and I got a chance to watch David Wright and Chipper Jones play all the time. So, they became one of those players that I really enjoy talking to as the third base coach.
Okay, so we talked earlier about your coaching staff you had to hire all these new people. Victor Rodriguez, one of my favorite people. I had him in Boston. He was our assistant hitting coach. He's awesome. So that was a good hire. But did Brandon Hyde call you? Because I don't know if people know that your wife and his sister, or you're married to Brandon Hyde's sister or
Yes,
something?
you're right. You're right.
Wife's
You're right.
sister? Is it Brandon
Yeah,
Hyde's wife's sister and your wife? Or I
our
don't know, whatever.
sisters. They're
Yes, okay.
sisters.
Both your wives are sisters. So did he call you looking for a job? Did he say, hey, Joe, we got these family ties, and if you don't want to make Thanksgiving and Christmas awkward, you should hire me?
Listen, I did talk to him when I was inquiring to some of these coaches. I did call Hyder. His experience and his words of encouragement and his advice is always something that I'm always looking for. So we did talk. I did not reach out for him for a job because he is managerial material. I don't know how good he could be as a hitting coach, but I did seek for advice and during this process, and we still talk. I know he's still trying to land a job and he wants to work, but Brendan Hyde it's not only my brother-in-law. I consider one of my closest friends.
Yeah, I know. Family dynamics. You don't want him being your bench coach and then something happened and then him being like, hey, I want that
Hey,
manager's job, right? So I
AJ,
get it.
AJ,
I get it, Joe. I
our
know how it goes.
wives, our wives, when they get together and they start talking about baseball, oof, they're
Oh,
they're they're the biggest second guessers there are in the game. So,
I can only imagine. All right.
so
So
why not bunting? Why you didn't bring this guy in the game? So if you bring both of them together, and we are, forget it. We will not be able to enjoy dinner.
okay, that's fair. Now we have the WBC coming up. You clearly
Yeah,
won't be able to manage Team Puerto Rico this year, but that's fine. Kike's out, so you don't want to manage that team anymore, anyways. But I do have a serious question about one of the greatest Puerto Rican baseball players, Carlos
yeah,
Beltran. Now,
yes,
I don't necessarily agree with this, but he's probably going to get into the Hall of Fame. But are you okay? And this is Astros related with the whole trash can thing. Are you okay with the fact that he gets looked down upon because his name has been brought up so many times at the end of his career for that, right? Like, to me, he had his career. He was a great player. He probably should have been in the Hall of Fame, first or second ballot. But some people look at that part of his Astros career and say, Carlos is a bad guy, or Carlos is this or that. And they almost want to put him in the steroid conversation, but not quite. Do you understand? It's kind of like a weird thing for me.
right. I'm not okay with it. I'm going to be careful how I answer this question. But when it comes to Carlos Beltran, he is a Hall of Fame player, and I think he will be in the Hall of Fame. Um, I don't want to spend too much time talking about the track, what happened in 2017, and all that. That's in the past. But I don't think we should be holding him hostage for what happened. Right? Mistakes were made. Um, and I think the people who were part of that served their suspension, um, and that's the end of it. They learned their lesson, correct? But the fact that continues to be an issue with Beltran, it bothers me because I don't know, as a Puerto Rican, right? I could be a little biased on this, but he's also a really good friend. But this is one of the best outfielders, switch hitters in the history of the game. Um, you can't take that away from Carlos, and I think eventually he will end up in the Hall of Fame. But like the way you describe that, JJ, and you're right, the way he's perceived and all that, I don't think it's fair. And I don't agree with it, but eventually he's going to end up in the Hall of Fame.
All right. Well, the last question that I got is actually pertaining to that 2017 team. You and I were on the Yankees. You were
Yes.
on the field way more than I was. I only got 2 at bats, but I got to go through that entire run. What I want to start a trend is now that the Yankees have still never beaten the Astros in the postseason ever since Joe Espada left. So it's the curse of Joe Espada. Are you okay with that? And Are you fine answering those questions for the rest of the time until the Yankees play the Astros in the postseason and beat them?
Listen, I don't. Kratzy, I remember us being together on that team, and um, I don't want this to be a Joe Espada Yankee curse signal. Um, right? We prepare ourselves to play, and I want the credit to go to our process and how we go about our business. Right? The Yankees, they're a tough team. It's not easy to beat the Yankees in postseason, regular season. They're a really good team. So I want the attention to go how we prepare our players to play every single day. When it comes to 17, you and I were on that club. When I joined, when this scandal happened, I had conversation with the players. Obviously, I was in 17, and I sat down with the players. Now wearing an Astros uniform, being a bench coach, and I had conversation with the players, and the right things were said between me and the players where I was able to um, have be able to move forward and understand that it was a mistake that was made, but now let's put it behind us because we are a team that we're trying to get past this and just focus in the future, right? But when it broke out, obviously I was part of the whole investigation and the whole thing, and it was not easy. But again, as we that's in the past, um, and now we just prepare ourselves just to be the best team every single day we step on the baseball field.
Joe Espada, we appreciate you. Thanks for wanting to come on the show.
Hey,
Thanks for the honesty and the
his man
answers.
cave. He promised us
What?
a man cave showing, and we
Yeah,
get
just
nothing. We
turn
got
it
nothing.
Yeah, you want to do it?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. I got you.
Oh, look at! I'm gonna show
So
off how big my TV is.
Oh,
one of my favorite pictures. Um,
Look at that
you know,
crew.
and
Having them back
then so obviously there is Connor Marlins Yankee days. These are cool JV autograph. July 4th. Spikes and George Springer, one of my favorite players. Can you guys seeing this? Okay.
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And then this is more of the um, Gold Glove Team Award. This is one of my favorite pieces here. Carlos Correa when he won the Platinum Glove a few years back. Um, Having him back on our team just makes my job that much easier. And then over here, it's just more of just Astros. I coached third for a little bit, a few years when I was on with AJ Brady and us celebrating the championship. There's another picture of Chipper Jones
Mhm.
when I was with the and kind of the man cave. Got a couple of jerseys. This wall got some jerseys over here. A little more of the Yankees.
You love the Yankees. Gosh, you're Astros people, man. They're never gonna let you live this down.
And I got some more stuff over here.
That's a great
Jeter,
setup.
look, he's got the
WBC.
Jeter. Look at him go.
And the JV. He's no hitter on September
Nice.
1st. So
Do you have the Blanco
yeah,
one? Do you have the Renell Blanco one? Because wasn't that your first win? Was a no hitter?
I do. I have to put it up. I'm running out of room here, but I do have it. And I have it signed. Him and Yanier Diaz signed it. So I got to find some space here and put it up. But I like to, I have all this stuff that I like to change and just kind of change things up. So
Nice.
Nicely done. Did you decorate it or did you have someone come in and like set it all up for you?
their wife.
The
did.
wife, of course. I
She's
knew it.
the
I
she
knew it.
is she's the creator. She puts all this together.
I don't even know why I bothered asking. I knew that answer before I even asked the question. Joe, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Best of luck this offseason. Continue to do what you guys need to do. We'll see you back in the postseason next year.
All right, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Joe Espada, manager of the Houston Astros. We'll be right back after this.
Holiday shopping season is here, and we have you covered from head to toe.
Let's talk about an area that's not quite close to the toes. Let's get crazy with this holiday season. Yeah, that's MeUndies I'm spinning around, but the holiday season, now you can get MeUndies with some holiday prints on them.
That's right, ridiculously soft fabric holiday prints, matching holiday prints with your special person, or you can coordinate PJs for the family photo. And right now you can get up to 50% off with the code FOUL. We rock MeUndies. You should too. We're talking over 30 million pairs sold. Knock out all your holiday gifting needs today with MeUndies to get exclusive holiday deals up to, yep, I said it, 50% off. Go to MeUndies.com/foul and enter promo code FOUL. That's MEUNDIES.com/FOUL. Promo code FOUL for up to 50% off.
Gary Sheffield Jr. on X saying future Yankee. This is in response to Jesse Rogers' tweet about Tatsuya Imai. He's been posted, guys. The window to negotiate with him is between November 19th, so that's tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern, and January 2nd at 5 p.m. Eastern. The 27-year-old righty compiled a 1.92 ERA in Japan last year. Those are great numbers. We know the Japanese arms are in high pursuit. Where do you think he goes, AJ?
Los Angeles, don't they? Doesn't every Japanese pitcher and player that's posted now go to Los Angeles?
At a certain point, though, they can't all go there.
And Managa's going there too. He got a qualifying offer also from the Dodgers. He's going to accept the Dodgers qualifying offer. Okay,
I don't think it works that way.
Oh, it doesn't. And then what's the lefty hitter guy that's supposed to?
Murakami.
He's Murakami. He's not going to LA. He's going somewhere else. But I actually think I don't know the Yankees fit for Imai, but I could see a Detroit. I don't know if it'd go there though, but I could see like a Detroit going after him hard, even Boston going after him hard. But I just don't know. It's just everything for the Japanese guys is headed out on the West Coast a lot because the travel back home is so much easier. So I just don't know. I mean, I know we saw Tanaka and we saw Arabu and the guy who threw the ball that didn't spin, the Daisuke to Boston. But
Igawa.
I don't know. I just feel he didn't do very well at all. He was terrible. He should have stayed in Japan. But
Yankees have gone a long time without having a Japanese star. We'll see if that changes. We're coming back right after this with Shaking Them Up. Time now for Shake It Up. I like seeing Michael in the.
How do we not have Michael in a bed with socks on? Like he should be laying in a bed and his feet sticking out.
You're not going to let that go, are you?
Never, because you didn't have to live with him for a week in Arizona. Like I
had to live with Clint Pasillas for a week in Arizona. What do you think is worse?
How many alarms does Clint Pasillas put on?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was always up before him, so I don't know. Yeah, one like a normal human being.
I couldn't be up before Michael. If he had to be up at 5, he started at 3, and every 10 minutes there was an alarm going off. So even if I had to sleep until 6, the alarm was going off every 10 minutes. So, and then did he tell the story? I don't know if you've ever even heard this story. He bought. This is how twisted and sick Michael is. Okay, he bought a bag of gummy bears, like the big bag of the gummy bears. I don't know if he went to Costco or where he got them, and he didn't eat them. He just put them on the counter. And then I asked him, I said, why'd you buy the gummy bears? He's like, oh, they were a test to see if you would eat them.
What?
Like, what are we even talking about?
Trying to set you up?
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not eating gummy bears like randomly. First of all, I wouldn't eat something you bought because I don't know what he put in them. He might have, done something crazy and resealed the bag. But I'm not going to just go in there and just start noshing on someone's gummy bears.
There was way more going on right next to us than I had any idea.
Yes.
Because we were in the back house. You two were in the front house. I had no idea all of these shenanigans were taking place.
Just from Michael. Not from me. I was just trying to get a good night's sleep.
Oh, my goodness. I'm so sorry to hear that. All right. Time now for Shake It Up, guys. Going off of Jeff Passan's column recently about free agency updates. Is Stephen Kwan going to stay in Cleveland or is he going to go someplace else? Seems like multiple GMs believe he's gone.
Yeah. I think he's going to get traded. The Guardians will do something here. They're not going to spend money, so I think he's one of those guys that they'll make a move, and he has value. So I think he'll be gone. I don't think he'll be a Guardian.
Okay. What about you, Erik? You think Kwan is a Guardian, or you think he's a Dodger?
From what I heard, he was almost a Dodger. You want to
go
with Dodgers?
No.
What is it?
No.
Alanna.
No. The only reason I said that was because yesterday Jim Bowden was talking about it, and we were also talking about it on Dodgers territory that Teo is not necessarily the answer in right field. Maybe you move Teo to left. Maybe you get Kyle Tucker in right, even though they're not going to want to spend that money. But they were saying, we were talking about it, that Stephen Kwan makes a lot of sense maybe in the Dodgers outfield. He's a good bat-to-ball guy. He's great defensively. Where would you like to see him go?
I mean, he makes sense in a lot of outfields. From what I heard from my inside source, is he was going to be traded with Clase before the whole Clase thing happened, and that would have been a massive haul for the Guardians. But I think he fits in a lot of outfields. I just think it's a matter of understanding what you're getting with Stephen Kwan. He is somebody that's not going to give you a lot of power and is never going to give you a bad at bat. Are you willing to? Because we heard all the time other years, Luis Arraez could be traded. Luis Arraez was just traded, and he was traded again. Similar type of profile with much, much better defense. So what are teams willing to give up? And that's why I think the Guardians are going to ultimately trade him, because they are able to get value out of somebody who I think becomes a free agent in 27. So you're giving up 2 years, but it's the Guardians' MO to try to get value when they can. And I think, he will help whatever team he is on. He's a winning type of player, which doesn't give you any analytical numbers, but he plays great defense and puts together a incredibly tough at bat.
Yeah, he does. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. I don't see him in Cleveland in the foreseeable future. All right, coming up, we are going to be talking with White Sox All-Star right-handed pitcher Shane Smith. Coming up on Foul Territory. All right, along the same lines of what we were talking about in terms of free agent stay or go, Nick Castellanos, this is an interesting situation, AJ, because Nick Castellanos apparently had some beef with Rob Thompson during the end of their season. And per Jeff Passan, Philadelphia has tried to trade him along with his $20 million salary, but supposedly no bidders. Is Castellanos back in Philly next year?
Unless Philly eats some money, I think he is. I don't know that they've been trying. It's like Alec Bohm. They tried to. I feel like they've tried to trade Alec Bohm and Nick Castellanos for years now. Castellanos. The reason I think, again, we had Castellanos on not long ago. We've had Dave Dombrowski on not long ago. He just got frustrated because he wants to play, and Rob Thompson wasn't playing him every day. And listen, he didn't have a great year. He's not great defensively. He can still swing the bat. He gets big hits for him. He got some huge hits for him in the postseason and down the stretch. So I think he's back just because I don't know the Phillies going to be willing to eat money to get him moved somewhere.
I think the Phillies need to focus on just signing Kyle Schwarber to a long-term deal. Byron Buxton, Erik Kratz, do you see Byron Buxton staying in Minnesota or moving on? Originally, he said he did not want to be traded. Now it seems like he's willing to at least explore the possibilities of not being with the Twins in 2026.
I'm going to take a quote from Dumb and Dumber. What was all this 1 in a million talk? If Byron Buxton is available, you have to try to go and get him. If you are the Philadelphia Phillies, if you're the Cincinnati Reds, if you are I wouldn't even be against, a team like the Brewers going to get, he's not being paid that much for the next 3 years. There is an opportunity to have a guy. Obviously, the whole health thing is that, always talked about. That's a top 10 MVP type of player. I have a hard time believing if there's a chance that GMs are not calling about Byron Buxton. So I think he goes. I think he gets moved.
Do you agree with that, AJ?
I think if Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan get moved, then I think if I'm
you think
Byron
them
Buxton,
first?
my next call is, hey, Derek Falvey, sign me up to go bye-bye also, because why would he want to be there? They're not going to
No,
compete. They're
he
saying they're going to
wouldn't.
compete. They're not. If they move those two guys, adios. I'm Byron Buxton. I'm on the phone with Derek Falvey saying, see ya. Get me out of here, please.
I mean, they traded away half their team anyway at the deadline last year. All right, coming up, Shane Smith is next. Shane Smith, right-hander for the Chicago White Sox, made his debut on April 1st. April Fool's Day. It wasn't a joke, though. Good to have you with us on the show. Not only did he make his debut on April 1st, he was the second player in Major League Baseball history to make the All-Star team in the year following his Rule 5 selection. Shane, welcome to the show. Tell me about the All-Star year. What was the best part of it for you? And how do you improve upon that next season?
Yeah. Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. Yeah, this year was full of, a lot of new for me. And, the first, couple of starts, you're bewildered and just trying to do your best. Then you start to learn, you're talking to guys, learning out, what could I do here? What could I do there? And then, you're just trying to grow. You're just trying to be, soak up as much information as possible. And I think that goes into the off season of, what did I struggle with this year? What did I do well with? And try and keep it simple as possible, but also make sure you're making strides that prepare you for the next year.
Hey, before we get into your year in the White Sox and everything, I got to start back from when you're in high school. You went to some place called the Governor's Academy, a boarding school. Can you explain what the heck that is? Because that sounds like some fancy schmancy place Alanna would go, like when she was in high. I mean, some of us went to public high school, and then some of you other people, the richer people from up north in the Northeast, we go to the Governor's Academy. What the heck is that?
Yeah, so I would not put myself in the Richie Rich category. But
I mean, I didn't go to boarding school. I didn't go to boarding school.
They got financial aid for a reason.
But
it's so basically you can be a day student or you can live there. I lived about 30 minutes from the school, and it's a preparatory school for college. So I moved in there at 14, my freshman year. There's about 450 kids in the school total, so the grades are pretty small. And I lived with 18 freshmen in my dorm, and then your sophomore year, junior year, and senior year, you live in like a bigger, it's not college. There's still, the faculty kind of live within you, and it's a pretty tight knit community. But I enjoyed my time, and I know it's a foreign concept to pretty much everybody outside of the Northeast.
Yeah. What was that movie? What was the movie where they had like that? Did you have the Secret Society and the Skulls?
Dead Poet Society?
Dead Poet. But then there was the other one, Skulls, where they had like the Secret Society where they had to know the passcode, and then they did all these crazy things. Were you like in one of those things?
That's Yale. That's Yale. That's the Skull and Bones.
Sorry.
We're not there. No.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
That's
okay.
Dr. Pepper High School down in Orlando. Dr. Pepper High School.
For the record, I went to public school. Okay, and I went to a public university. So stop it, AJ.
All right, now Shane, how does somebody from the Governor School, I parlay, Governor, end up at Wake Forest? How do you end up like does Tom Walters go up there and just look for people from the Northeast and bring them down, because he has a lot of the Northeast connections?
Yeah, I think he looks for the Northeast. I think he looks for the type of player that, when you're not playing baseball year round and you're, playing multiple sports, and, when you get into baseball season, that's your passion. They started recruiting me my sophomore year, roughly. And I committed later that summer, but they had some family connections with Tom Walter, and he gave us a look at the school, and I fell in love with it pretty quickly. It's a smaller private school. I think it's the smallest Power 5 or Power 4 now. So it was similar to my high school, but everything else stood up. Their facilities are incredible. Campus is incredible.
You love those private, small. I mean, gosh, it must be nice. Anyways, continue.
Man, he's never going to come back on the show. Will you leave him alone? Leave him
No,
alone.
That's okay.
I love it. I'm
It's okay.
jealous. I wish that I would have had that growing up. Instead, I had to go to Dr. Phillips High School. Like, I'm sorry.
So yeah, I mean, I was in the minority in every place I went. So I was okay with that. But yeah, I ended up at Wake and absolutely loved it. My college career wasn't what I was expecting, just with injuries and COVID and all that. But nothing but good things to say about Tom Walter and his staff there.
And you played with Rhett Lauder, but you missed Nick Kurtz by a year. Tell me what you've seen from those two guys, obviously out of Wake Forest, that impresses you the most about why they can be so successful at the big league level like yourself.
Yeah, Rhett took the Sunday job after I blew out, after I had TJ, and he stepped in it as a freshman and really commanded from an early time on from there. And he grew a ton, started throwing more strikes and throwing a little bit harder, but he had it pretty damn close when he showed up. So I hope he's getting healthy and feeling better and ready to go next year because he's going to do well. And Kurtz is just ridiculous. I remember hearing stories and seeing a big left-handed bat in Winston, and they usually do really well, and he just absolutely killed it when he came up. So super happy for him. I talked to him a little bit when we went to Sacramento, and said keep it up, wished him luck, and maybe we'll catch up soon. But yeah, super happy for those guys.
Do you know what today is, Shane? Do you know what is happening in baseball today?
40-man roster's got to be set today. Rule 5 is the Rule 5 today? No way.
So the Rule 5.
No.
So kind of
Rule
ironic.
Rule
that
5 is in the winter meetings. Rule 5 is
Yeah,
in the winter
yeah.
meetings.
No.
Right.
But the guys who know they're going to be available for the Rule 5. So it's kind of ironic. Do you remember this day? Obviously, it's not this exact day. Last year, when the Brewers were like, "Nah, we're not going to protect you."
I didn't really know it was my Rule 5 year until probably 2 or 3 days before the draft. So when I wasn't protected, I didn't really think anything of it. And then once I got some phone calls pretty much right before the Rule 5, and they said, "Hey, you're eligible." And then it's kind of like, "Oh crap! This is something that could happen," which was wild.
Okay, so it wasn't a knock to your ego, because I remember being in the minor leagues and like guys were like, "Oh yeah, this is his protection year. There's definitely it's kind of a platform year type of thing." So you didn't really think about that until you got phone calls. And then did you even know what the Rule 5 draft was?
I knew it gave me a better opportunity than sitting in Double A or Triple A the next year with Milwaukee. I thought you get added to the 40-man, and then you kind of just you're at big league spring training, and then maybe you make the team, but you're on the 40-man. And then I learned that if all things go well, you're in the big leagues, and give it your best shot. But yeah, when I was told that it was 26 and spring training is my shot, then it's kind of like, okay, it's the opportunity I've always wanted, and now it's time to run with it.
Did you believe that you were actually going to get an opportunity when you went to the White Sox? Because I think we talked to you in spring training, and like Rule 5 guys, they get told one thing, but the reality is it's like, hey, we'd just love to have you in the organization. This first year is a whatever thing. Did you truly believe when they told you that you made the team that you're like, I'm going to be here the whole year. I'm going to be an all-star?
I think I'd do a disservice to myself if I didn't think that I could do everything that I wanted to do. And no arrogance or cockiness. I think when I get that opportunity, it was, okay, am I good enough to be here? And then I think I showed myself and others that I'm good enough to be here. And then it was kind of like, okay, now it's time to go. The novelty of like, hey, we just made the team, and congratulations. Like that's incredible. And I cried that day with my family. But once you kind of get over that first debut and second outing and third outing, now it's like, okay, let's do this. Let's make this work.
Shane, you make the team, first of all, Rule 5. And by the way, I'm glad you did, because you had a really nice year. Then you make the All-Star team. And I want to thank you. You didn't big league me on the red carpet. You came over and said hi. So thank you. Thank you for doing that when I saw you on the red carpet. I know you're with your family and everybody, so thank you for not big leaguing me. I appreciate that. What was it like when you got the call you made the All-Star team? Because forget like Rule 5, awesome, made the team awesome, but then you made it to the highest level, which is then the All-Star game. So what was that call like?
It was a whirlwind. I really didn't think that I was going to get the nod there. I think I put together a pretty strong, 10, 12 starts, and then the league adjusted to me, and I had a few, 5, 6 tough starts, and that was kind of around that time. And Venable came into the Colorado Rockies locker room. I had a start actually later that day, and he's going through it, and White Sox rookie pitcher, and I was like, okay, it's got to be me here, and overcome with emotion. Try to say thank you to the staff and my teammates around me, because that's how you get through those tough days, right? Like, your teammates are guys you can bounce ideas off of, and hey, I'm struggling here. What do you got? And I think that's a huge testament to the guys in this clubhouse that boost me up and that I can succeed. So, and then once you get to Atlanta, it's 2 days of craziness and trying to say hello to everybody and pick people's brains and see what you can get. Super thankful my family was there, and definitely something we'll think about forever.
Shane, you had more starts under your belt than Jacob Mizorowski did, but he made the All-Star team. And a lot of folks were saying, how can this kid who has, 5 minutes in the big leagues take a spot? What a lot of people didn't know is a lot of pitchers ahead of him didn't want to go or elected not to go. Their team wouldn't let him pitch, but he was still very deserving based on the amount of starts that he had at the time. How did you deal with that firestorm of him, just your reaction to it? Because you kind of were in a similar situation, even though you had been up longer and had more starts. What was that? What was your reaction to that whole situation for him?
I played with Miz for 2 years, so I knew him pretty well. I think in that situation where, you have the top prospect who's doing really well and is, electrifying to watch, I think that's good for the game. I think, and also when you have, I think it was like 12 or 13 guys that say no to going out there, I think at that point, what do you do for that's best for the game? And I think Miz was in that category of, let's get someone really exciting who's done well in a short period of time. But I think it's really cool to see. I think there is some merit to, maybe having 15 to 20 starts in the big leagues before you get something like that. But obviously, I had 14, right? So, when do you draw that line? I'm not sure. But I think for Miz, really happy for him, and I'm glad he threw pretty well in the playoffs. I think that was really cool. And, is it a baseball purist look? I don't think so, but I think it's also really exciting for the game. And it's great to see some of the best arms and most electrifying arms throw in Atlanta.
You said you had a bunch of people to talk to, pick brains of people. Who was the coolest person you met at the All-Star game that you were like, I can't believe I just said hi to that person?
Me. You better say me, Shane. You better say me,
you were
Shane.
up there. I was definitely starstruck when I was saying hello to you. I think I wanted to introduce myself to everybody and just say, hey man, it's nice to meet you. Really cool to see you. And then I think I was in kind of the AL Central corner of the locker room. So I talked to some of the hitters from Detroit and Kansas City. Talked to Chris Bubich a lot. Skubal was right next to me, Tarek. So I obviously asked him a few questions, trying to be cordial about it and everything. But Garrett Crochet was another guy who was with the White Sox that have some familiar connections. So talked to him a little bit. But Aaron Judge saying what's up to me, and guys like that. It's been watching him for so long, and then I faced New York in my last 2 starts, and it's like, this guy's a good guy, but obviously you want to do well against him. But yeah, just trying to say hello to people, and if they're open to a conversation, I was trying to have it.
That's good. That's smart. That's a good way to go into the All-Star game and enjoy every second of it, because it's meant to be fun. All right, so you went into the year, and last year you had Ethan Katz as your pitching coach. This year you have a whole new pitching coaching staff. Have they reached out to you? Have you talked to the new staff for the White Sox? And have they talked about things they want you to go into spring training working on to make yourself even better? Because you had a really good year.
Yeah, so I talked to Zach. twice now. He actually texted me earlier today and just kind of checking in. Yeah, I had a good conversation with him. He's trying to get to know me, and I'm trying to get to know him. So, just telling him what I'm thinking in terms of, what are the things that I think that would be, to help me make that next jump that I'm trying to do and trying to make. And I think he's doing a really good job of listening, and also, he doesn't know me yet. He just kind of knows the numbers and what it looks like on paper. And I think as we get to know each other more, he's gonna be like, "Hey, Shane, I think you really can, make a jump with getting guys out with 2 strikes or first pitch strikes. I definitely have to throw, cut down on the walks this year." But yeah, I think I'm going to meet with him right after Thanksgiving and really kind of get into the nitty gritty of, what's going to help me, what's going to be the most bang for our buck. That's, simple and effective for next year.
Hey, also, I wanted to ask you this: since you have 2 rookie catchers, who did you like throwing to more, Keel or Kiro? I'm gonna put you straight on the spot. I'm putting you straight on the spot here.
No, I think when you have 2 rookie guys, they're still trying to figure themselves out in dealing with a staff of 15, 16 pitchers, and to not bring one pitcher over to another is a hard thing to do. Be like, hey, this guy does this, but everybody throws differently and everybody's stuff is different, so you kind of have to attack differently. And I think Caro had Matt Theis early on that helped him out of the gate for Theis to give him scouting reports and this is how we break down and this is how we want to look at guys. And then Teal shows up and it's just him and Caro just trying to figure it out on the fly. So it took a lot of the pitchers going to Teal and saying, "Hey man, this is what we're trying to do," and he picked it up right away. If you didn't like something, you shake it, and he's all over it, and he's trying to learn more about why are we shaking there. I think we saw this, and then we're having an open conversation, right? Everybody wants to succeed, and everybody wants to do well, and it's just kind of how do we get there. So I think Caro might have had the head start with Theis kind of learning him the ropes, but Teal and Caro bounce ideas off each other, and then relied heavily on the pitchers to kind of guide in one way or another.
All right, trying to meld 2 things that you said together. You're talking about catchers and you're talking about meeting somebody at the All-Star game. I got to ask you, who should have won the MVP? You were kind of starstruck by Judge, you said, but you know what? You didn't say anything about Cal. You were like, hey, whatever, man. I guess that guy's not going to catch me in the All-Star game. So who should have won the MVP? Because it was close.
Yeah, it was close. I think the most valuable player is an interesting award because when you look at a catcher who hits 61 bombs or 60 bombs and is one of the best defensive catchers in the game this year and is really good behind the plate, I think it's pretty hard to put a value on that. But then you have Judge who hits 330 with 55 or 53 with a 1100 OPS, and it's like, okay, that guy clearly is the staple in that lineup and propels them into a divisional round. I think it would have been really cool to see Cal win it, to see a catcher win MVP with that amount of bombs and catching 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and showing up for his team. I think it's really hard to argue what the offensive numbers of Judge were.
Spoken like a true. I was going to say, AJ, spoken like, I know I'm going to let you talk, but it's very diplomatic. No. I see a future in politics for you, Shane Smith.
Listen, Shane, Merkin voted for sign. Judge. Merkin voted for Judge, so therefore it was Raleigh. That's it. And it was Raleigh. And plus, Merkin won't come on the show. You will, so you should have said Raleigh. Okay, that's former catcher's opinion.
I did.
I know, but you threw Judge a little love. Which, listen, he won. He deserved it. He had a great year. But,
he did. Yeah, he won the MVP, so you can't really discredit everything he does.
I know. We're not discrediting it. We love Aaron Judge. We're not discrediting him at all. I get it. You still have to face him, so you don't want him mad at you when you have to face him down the line. But
yeah.
But okay, so I have 2 things, and then we got to let you go. One. Tell Colson Montgomery to text me back, okay? I've texted him twice now. He's ghosted me, so I'm just going to keep calling him out, and I'm just going to start texting him every day until he responds. So Teal, text me back. You're great about it. A lot of the White Sox guys. But Colson Montgomery, listen, if you're wearing my number, you got to text me back, all right? That's it. Tell Colson. Maybe I have the wrong number. I don't know. But if I do, I'm sorry. But if not, tell him to text me back. And then the next thing I want to know is you have 2 sisters, right? You have 2 sisters?
I do.
Do you ever tell them not to tweet? Because it's hilarious when people say something about you and then they write. Like, have you ever gone to your sister and said, look, sis, I love you to death, but can we not get in Twitter battles today? Just let me pitch and pitch good? Because you had a great year. And then I'd fall, and then your sister would pop up on my feed, and I would just be like, this is what I came for. This is what's going to make my day right here.
Yeah. No, there's definitely been some conversations. I think early on it was kind of like, hey, people are going to have things to say that aren't always positive. Like, you really got to stay away from it. Just, post, hey, my brother's pitching today, or hey, good job to my brother. And, I can't be mad at that. But I think, I've seen some instances where it's like, why are you even entertaining this guy that's saying, oh, Shane Smith sucks? Like, just let it go. But I'm the little brother, and I think that's got something to do with it. So I think if they hear that they're, getting noticed by you guys, they'd be like, either we keep it up or we probably shut it down. But yeah, there's been some, but they're adults and they can live their life as long as they're, not threatening anybody. I think it's okay.
Social media can be the devil,
I love it.
or the you love it when you're
big
when
sisters.
Big sisters.
Big sisters. They're standing up for little brother. I mean, and by the way, if they say Shane Smith sucks, all you got to do is say All-Star game, under 4 ERA in my first year in the big leagues. I don't think I sucked that bad. I think I had a pretty damn good year.
Yeah, I'll let them, respond to the people who say that. That's not my job.
Yeah, Shane, just stay off of social media. Let your sisters take care of it. You just keep doing what you're doing. Make the All-Star team again. We appreciate you being here, man. Have a good off season. Be well. Stay safe. When do you pick up a baseball, or have you done that already?
I picked one up last week, so
Okay.
We're getting the rust off and getting back into it now.
All right. Very good. Well, good luck to you. Appreciate you taking the time. AJ's knocking stuff
thank
over.
You guys.
I just picked one up for the first time in a long time.
All right, guys.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
Shane, take care. All right.
Thanks.
Always great to have players on the show. We appreciate Shane Smith very much. All-star for the White Sox this year, coming back right after this. All right, guys, some news by Robert Murray saying that the Red Sox designated first baseman Nathaniel Lowe for assignment. And apparently Josh Winkowski was also designated for assignment by the Red Sox as well. Chris Cotillo talking about that. So the Red Sox seem to continue to have a first base problem. Erik, we'll start with you. How do you see this playing out? Because I don't know if Tristan Casas is going to come back, if that's going to be their dude. Abraham Toro didn't really work out there. Nathaniel Lowe came in. What do they do at first base? What's the play here?
Pete Alonso, right-handed bat, first baseman. I get it, they don't love his. Maybe the Red Sox look at it like, hey, you know what? Our fallback plan is Tristan Casas. If he comes back from his injury, has he done enough in the big leagues for them to say, yeah, we're a play? I don't think you can say synonymously. You can't say it in the same breath. We want to be a World Series winning team, and we'll just figure out first base. Because first base, the Red Sox showed all of baseball, and everybody that says it, first base isn't that easy. You can't just find somebody. I thought it was great that they picked up Nathaniel Lowe. Now they didn't bring him back. They didn't tender him a contract. So, you got to go out and get somebody. And it's a position that there's a lot of power out there, and you can't have a lapse of power at first base if you want to win a World Series, in my opinion.
AJ, is that the Red Sox biggest need, figuring out first base, or is it making sure Alex Bregman comes back?
They need Bregman back, and they need a first baseman. Whether it's Tristan Casas and he can stay healthy and do his yoga out in the outfield grass or whatever he wants to do, or if it's someone else, as we talked about. Is it Pete Alonso going there and helping fill that void at first base? I don't know, but that is a big. Bregman should be number one, and then a starter, and then a first baseman. Those are the three needs for the Red Sox for me, right? And it needs to be a right-handed hitter because they have a lot of these guys that can hit lefty, but they need a dude that can go up there and slug and hit the ball off and over the green monster.
So you think is that the order, though? Is it Bregman, extension, number 2 starter to go behind Garrett Crochet in the rotation, and then a first baseman? Is that the order of operation?
because they have Casas who's just sitting there, and whatever happens with him. And they also proved they could be okay with Romy Gonzalez and Abraham Toro for some time, right, playing first base. So Alex Cora is really good at mixing and matching, but they need that lockdown third baseman who should be Bregman. And then if they could get another starter, top of the end rotation, be great. And then you could figure out first base down the road.
All right. Tampa Bay making some moves as well. They acquired right-hander Luis Guerrero, and right-hander Forrest Whiteley has been granted his release.
I am your general manager.
All right, guys, time now for I Am Your GM. This is the Philadelphia Phillies edition. Matt Gelb wrote, what I'm hearing about the Phillies, Schwarber's free agency, trade market, bullpen reboot. Does Philly re-sign Kyle Schwarber, guys? What's the play here? You think he comes back? And if he does, what's the deal in your opinion, AJ?
I think you think Philly's the place he should go back to. What's the deal? I think it's a 4-year deal. 4-year deal, 150? Something like that. I think 4-year 120 I'm going 150. They know how much he means to him. So I think Philly's the spot for him. There's going to be a lot of other teams, though, that are in on Kyle Schwarber because not only of his presence in the box, but his presence in the clubhouse.
Mm-hmm. Finished second in National League MVP voting. Erik turns 33 before opening day. He is a DH, so you got to value that. He doesn't obviously play in the field. But that's highly valued by the Phillies, obviously. It's not obvious how the market will view him. What do you think? Do you think he goes back?
I think the Phillies don't build their team necessarily on WAR in the offseason. I think some teams build their team on WAR and build their team on, we want to make sure we have a lot of flexibility. Maybe that's the route that they have to go. But I don't think there's any team that understands his value in the clubhouse more than the Phillies. I'd have a hard time believing, being told who's going to be the next guy to step up. When you look around that team, who's the guy that steps up to be the leader on this team? And some people inside the clubhouse might say, we don't need, we have a lot of good leaders. I fear that when a team says that because, to me, that's where Schwarber's value is. Also, the fact his numbers were ridiculous. He was a second in MVP voting. But to me, it was less about his numbers and more about his improvement from last season to this season. The fact that he dropped his strikeout rate. The fact that he hit the most home runs left on left of anybody in the big leagues. The fact that he's continually gotten better the entire time he's been there. And I just feel like other teams are going to want to go 4 years, 120, because they know his value's there. And I think the Phillies will probably end up, maybe 135. I don't know that he's going to get 5 full years at 30 a year. I feel like that's stretching it. And if it does get to that, I really think the Phillies are willing to say, yes, we want to be in on that also.
Is a DH worth, and I know you get what the market allows, right? I'm not suggesting that, but is a DH worth $30 million a year?
Yeah, if someone wants to pay you $30 million a year,
right?
Is Shohei Ohtani worth $70 million a year as a DH?
I mean, but he also pitches though. That's a little different. It's a little different
this year.
But he's still the DH. He didn't last year.
Yeah, I get it.
Would David Ortiz be worth $30 million in today's game? Edgar Martinez, Frank Thomas.
But if you're going along the same lines of what Eric's saying about clubhouse guy and what he means to the team, and yeah, David for sure. I love Kyle Schwarber. I hope he gets it. God bless him. That's a lot of money for a DH.
I think $30 million just for a DH. Yes, I think they're worth it. $30 million to a player who takes up just one position that doesn't give you flexibility for the other guys who are aging throughout their contract that are still going to be there in the next 5 years while that contract is happening. That's when the $30 million gets a little steep. I mean, it does, and that's what teams are going to have to fear. But I think that fear is negated by what he's brought in that clubhouse. The fact that he's transitioned from Rhys Hoskins being the leader to Kyle Schwarber being the guy. Like he's a dude's dude, as Garrett Stubbs said. You know, he's the guy that always wants to play ping pong with somebody in the class. Like there's just little stuff like that brings the boys together.
Yeah, he had a great cameo too on Abbott Elementary. The show is set in Philadelphia. He was great on it on a 4-home run Kyle Schwarber day. All right, coming up here on Foul Territory, we are rolling on. We're going to be joined by the Athletics' Cody Stavenhagen with the Tigers' off-season to-do list. We'll be right back. This from SNY, guys. Brandon Nimmo reportedly, quote, can be had in a trade this offseason. Such a callous way to put it. Come get him. He can be had. You think Nimmo goes anywhere else but the Mets, AJ?
I mean, I think the Mets are pretty open to trading almost anybody that they can trade other than Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto. I don't know that there's any other untouchables on that team. I think if David Stearns gets the right offer for literally anybody on their team, I think he would make a move for Nimmo, Alvarez, Minaya, Senga, McNeil. Who else do they have? I mean, I'm just going through off the top of my head. I mean, I think they would pretty much move anybody they can, A, to try to free up money, and B, to try to make their team better. Because this team last year, it didn't work. Sorry,
what
it
makes
didn't
them
make the
better?
playoffs. It didn't work.
What makes them better? What do they need?
Starting pitching. Bringing back, they got to figure out closer if Edwin Diaz is gone, and they got to figure out starting pitching. Frankie Montas, sorry, he ain't the answer. I know David Stearns likes to play in the kiddie pool sometimes, but Frankie Montas ain't the answer. Especially what was he making, $17 or $18 million a year? That's just not the answer. You're the Mets. Go get the big boys.
Yeah.
I think the only way they move them is if it gets them a starting pitcher. If it gets them somebody that they don't have to go, because they're very fearful of going real long term, 5 years on a starting pitcher. Maybe Nimmo does blips that radar for a team that they're like, hey, you know, we're willing to give up so and so for Nimmo, which Nimmo is still a legit player. It wasn't the Mets offense that was the issue. Sometimes it was, I get it, but everybody gets worn out when your starting pitchers only go 3 or 4 innings. The position players are like, oh, okay, here we go again. We got to score 7 to win. The bullpen's like, okay, we got to take care of this game. They need starting pitching. It affects everything.
No doubt. He was consistent, had a good year. I mean, I guess if you're looking at it in terms of what he did, slashing 262, 324, 436, 25 home runs. I didn't realize Brandon Nimmo had 25 long balls, 92 ribbies, 81 runs scored. I think the Mets will probably blow it all up with the exception of what you guys said, Francisco Lindor and Juan Soto.
They can't trade those guys. They can't trade those guys. I mean, they can't.
I know. If they could, they would, but they obviously can't. All right, coming up, Cody Stavenhagen with the Athletic, coming back talking Tigers next. Think it, but spring training will be here before we know it. It is time to talk the Detroit Tigers. Cody Stavenhagen on the show with us today. You can, of course, see him all over the place. He writes for The Athletic. He's the co-host of Tiger Territory. Cody, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it. What are the top 3 things that the Tigers need to do this offseason?
Well, yeah, thanks for having me on. First of all, I think you can pretty easily narrow the Tigers offseason to-do list down into 3 categories. Probably the most obvious is to fix the bullpen. It was a weakness at many points last year, and more specifically to add more swing and miss to the bullpen so that you're not living and dying by batting average and balls in play. The Tigers bullpen ranked 29th in whiff rate last year, which is unacceptable if you're trying to win a World Series. They need multiple relievers. They, I think, need at least one legit back-end swing and miss type reliever. I'd be highly surprised if they would spend on an Edwin Diaz or a Devin Williams, but the tier of guys right below that, Pete Fairbanks, some other names in that group, makes sense. And again, they're going to have to get more than one. right now, Will Vest and Tyler Holton might be your only sure things in the bullpen, although you do have some other existing guys who have had success. But you got a lot of work to do in the pen. Number 2, you have to add a starter. The Tigers, for now, we're just going to assume they're going to keep Tarik Skubal and not trade him for the purpose of this exercise. They're okay. They're in okay shape in the pen or in the rotation. Skubal, Casey Mize, Jack Flaherty, Reese Olson, and Troy Melton with Cater Montero, some other guys in that mix. But they used, I think, 15 different starting pitchers last year, including bullpen days. We all know you need more depth. I think they have to get at least one legit starter on a major league deal. And I would argue maybe they should target someone who can pitch almost as a number 2 to Skubal. Because you're not just building for 2026, you're building for the future. After 2026, you are likely to lose Tarik Skubal, Jack Flaherty, and Casey Mize all to free agency. So maybe you could almost work ahead. Now, one thing I want to note on both of those topics with the pitching, the Tigers, as much as it's fun to link them to names like Michael King or whoever else, we know they like to get creative. So I do wonder, or just food for thought, might they be looking around the edges? Is there a reliever they think they could convert to a starter, or a starter they could convert to a reliever? I would not rule out them doing something more outside of the box that conventional wisdom, isn't bringing to the top of all our minds. And then the third thing is to improve the offense. For what it's worth, the Tigers ranked 11th in run scoring last year. They did that with a really young lineup. I think the 4th most plate appearances of hitters 25 or younger. But their awful September and in the playoffs, some of their flaws really showed up. There can still be too much swing and miss, a little too much chase. I think a lot of what happens with this lineup will revolve around what Gleyber Torres does. This afternoon, we will learn whether he accepts or declines the qualifying offer. If he accepts it, that'll be good for their lineup. He's a dependable professional hitter, but you do wonder how they will configure the rest of their infield, especially with a lot of existing young players in place, especially with Kevin McGonigal, arguably the top prospect in baseball, and some other guys on the rise. I think they need more, but there's not beyond Gleyber Torres. There's not a clear solution, like a clear fit. They could go after the Alex Bregmans, the Bo Bichetts in the world. Makes a lot of sense, but they'll have to do some other shuffling. And again, for better or worse, the Tigers tend to be creative, so I'm really interested to see what kind of solutions they will ultimately land on.
Talked about the bullpen needing more swing and miss. Is there any of those guys, besides the 2 that you had mentioned, that need to change maybe their pitch mix, their repertoire? Because you're not going to find 6 guys that have swing and miss that just are out there available, and the Tigers aren't willing to spend that much money. So are there guys that they've said, hey, you know what, we can increase this to increase that swing and miss?
Yeah, always a good question, and generally something the Tigers have been pretty good at is helping guys tweak their arsenals, optimize their pitch mix. Kyle Finnegan, who they traded for last year, is the perfect example. He's a free agent again, but I think there could be some mutual interest in bringing him back. And they didn't acquire him necessarily. He was a good reliever, a good closer, but he wasn't a huge swing and miss guy. He got to Detroit, almost doubled the usage of his splitter, and the swing and miss went way up. So Finnegan's a prime example, and I think that's a reason he would like to maybe return to Detroit, and maybe they would like to have him back because they already made that sort of adjustment. There's certainly more guys internally, but you look at some of the major names in their bullpen, like Brennan Hanafy. He's more of a sinker, ground ball type guy. Brant Herter, he can miss some bats with his slider. He's a lefty, but still more of a ground ball type guy. So I don't know that you can completely change the profiles of some of your existing players in-house. That's why it's certainly going to take multiple external additions. While, yeah, I guess you're hoping, hey, throw this slider a little harder, and maybe you can get a little more swing and miss, so at least you're not ranking 29th.
Cody, what would it take to trade Tarik Skubal? What do you have to get in return?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's one of the biggest questions of the whole offseason. I think it would take a real haul. I think you're talking multiple major league ready players, top 100 prospects, if not greater than that. It's hard to see a world where it's not at least a 3-player package, and all 3 of those players are going to have to be pretty good. I think you would like some major league ready pitching, starting pitching, and maybe some up the middle athletes for as much as we look around in free agency. at third baseman, stuff like that. Shortstop and center field seem to be some areas the Tigers could stand to improve. Maybe it'd be easier to do that on the trade market than free agency, but I don't know that you can just snap your finger and come up with an offer that makes sense. It would really have to be a pretty mind-blowing offer. I think for the Tigers to do this doesn't mean they won't, doesn't mean they're not listening, because they certainly have not shut down this talk. Scott Harris, Jeff Greenberg, when they've been asked about it, they've basically said no comment, which to me says, hey, they're open to listen to offers, but they don't have to trade him. So I think it would take something that they really would have to feel strongly is worth it, both in the short term and the long term.
Cody, I was going to say what you missed on that offseason to-do list was sign Tarek Skubal, right? I mean, that's it. And I joked with Scott Harris when we were in Seattle together, and Tarek walked by and I go, Scott, when are we announcing this extension here? And Scott, Scott Harris looked at me like I was crazy because I said it in front of Tarek, but that's me. Whatever. Anyways, so I thought it was funny. Hinch was there too. He laughed. Everyone kind of had a good chuckle about it. And I think Tarek said something like, we'll have Scott call my Scott and we'll figure it out. But I don't think that's going to happen. It's not that simple. But you mentioned offense at the end, right? And I watched them play 5 games. I watched them play more than 5 games, obviously. But the 5 games against the Mariners, it was swing and miss, swing and miss, swing and miss, strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. And I love Riley Green. I think Riley Green could be one of the best hitters in all of baseball if he just cut down his strikeouts. Will he change in order to do that? Because I've talked to some people in baseball that say this guy could be a $300-400 million guy, or if he continues on the path he is, he'll be $100 million is a crazy amount of money. $100 to $200 million guy if he stays where he's at. So do you think they can talk him into changing and just cutting down on the strikeouts? Go from 200 strikeouts to 150 strikeouts and put the ball in play in situations.
Yeah, I think it's certainly attainable. Like when he was coming up as a really highly touted prospect, I never viewed him as a guy who's going to strike out 200 times. Now, around the time he got to Double-A, myself and some others kind of started noticing like this guy does swing and miss a little more than maybe we've talked about. So it started to show up. But he was viewed as like a very pure hitter, a very natural hitter, a line drive, all fields type hitter. And the big question was like, how's the power going to develop? Is this a 20 homer guy, a 30 homer guy, a 30 plus homer guy? And you look up at age 24, he hit 36 home runs. But I think it's fair to say there was a little bit too much selling out for power. It led to a franchise record for strikeouts. Yeah, he got the home runs, but some other parts of his game really suffered. Playing the game, moving the ball forward. Huge issue. I think he's a good enough and adaptable enough hitter to know that's not going to fly. His first couple years in the majors, he was hitting the ball on the ground too much. He adapted, started hitting the ball in the air, tapped into his power. Again, it seems now fair to say that was probably an overcorrection. Something's going to have to change, and surely Riley knows that.
Cody, if Gleyber Torres decides to take the qualifying offer, number one, do you think he will? Number two, does that mean the Tigers are all of a sudden out of the Alex Bregman, perhaps Bo Bichette sweepstakes? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, the first part of your question, I don't know what Glaber's going to do, but I think if I were advising him, I would say take that qualifying offer. I'd be surprised if there's a team willing to give him a 4 or 5 year deal that could near, $80 to $100 million. I just have a hard time seeing that, especially given he grades out negatively in the field and on the bases. But you can come back to the Tigers, 1 year, $22 million. You had a pretty good season until he suffered a sports hernia and was playing through it in the second half. So play like you did. Hope you can stay healthy. Hit the market next year coming off a full year, and then maybe you can get a 3-4 year deal. Pair that with the $22 million you just made in 2026. Maybe you end up being closer to that $100 million type player that Gleyber Torres has openly said he would like to be. That makes the most sense, unless there's just a team out there that values him above and beyond kind of what the market would normally predict. I think it makes sense for him to take the qualifying offer. Now, the second part of your question, I think that's one of the most... Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I interrupted you.
I think the second part is one of the most interesting, other than are they going to trade Skubal, the most interesting thing with this team, one of the most interesting questions in baseball. we just talked about it. They could use some help, man. They could use another professional, proven hitter for as much as we talk about young talent. But what are they willing to sacrifice if they were to pursue another big ticket free agent? If you sign a third baseman, what are you doing with Colt Keith, who's an ascending young hitter still, but doesn't really have a position, isn't at the level of an Alex Bregman right now? And what does that mean for Kevin McGonigal and Max Anderson and these other prospects that you view as part of your bright future? They could get aggressive and go sign a guy, but everything about this front office in 3+ years under Scott Harris has told us that may not be the course that they take.
I was going to ask you about Kevin McGonigal. Yes, he is maybe number 2. I think he's ranked number 2 or number 3 prospect in all of baseball. They're number 1 prospect. Is this team able to bring up a Kevin McGonigal to the big leagues and at the same time say, we think our team is getting better and we're going to win a World Series? Because normally it's you either keep all your stars and get more stars. We talked a lot about free agency. And if it doesn't go well, then we call up our prospects.
Yeah, I think that's the whole I don't know if it's the problem, but it's the difficulty of trying to thread the needle and build the sustainable winner, right? Because you get these young prospects and you got to get them to the big leagues at some point. But we all know young players are prone to struggles. Wasn't that long ago Colt Keith was not quite Kevin McGonigal level, but he was a very highly touted prospect. And he really struggled for the first 80-ish games of his major league career. Got a little better, but probably still hasn't hit what he eventually might be. McGonigal, this guy's really good. I would not be surprised if he has success pretty early on. But is he going to be as good as Bo Bichette is from day one? I mean, that's a hard sell, right? It's probably going to take a couple years. So I don't know. It's why it's really difficult. I think McGonigal's legit. I think it helps. He can play second. He can play third. He can play some short. I'm not sure he's an everyday shortstop, though. And so that's part of the equation that makes it a little bit harder.
All right, Cody. McGonigal's a super prospect. They have Max Clark, who is coming. Also, I love what the Tigers do with Cole Keith. They're not afraid because they're in the Central winnable division that they can still do this. What I want to know, though, is Scott Harris. Okay, Scott Harris is the GM. He's been in charge for a few years now. What's his role? Can he go to Christopher Ilitch and say, Mr. Ilitch, I need more money. I need $10 million, and we can get Bregman and Bichette and have McGonigal? Or is he not have that power? Because he's a young guy. He came from the Cubs. The Cubs are a big market, even though sometimes they don't act like it, right? So did he learn to be stingy? Or does he have the ability to go to Christopher Ilitch and say, I need this much more money, and we can get past Seattle and maybe go to the World Series?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how those conversations go down, but oddly enough, for as much as Chris Ilitch isn't his father and isn't known as a big spender, it seems like he's always been willing to open the pocketbooks to like a reasonable level. Like people who complain about the Tigers being cheap. It wasn't that long ago. They signed Javi Baez and they signed Eduardo Rodriguez and they spent pretty big in the 2022 offseason. Now I do wonder if Chris Ilitch hired Scott Harris in part because there was some alignment that they didn't have to be a luxury tax team, that they didn't have to be the Mike Ilitch Tigers. Yeah, Scott Harris, he came up under Theo Epstein, but then he worked for Farhan Zaidi in San Francisco. It doesn't seem so far like free agency, like spending is necessarily how he views, the best way to build a baseball team. This is a guy who likes the waiver wire, and I think that the challenge of finding surplus value and winning on the margins and all those kind of buzzwords, but to some degree has been pretty good at it. So maybe the answer is somewhere in the middle. I think this offseason can be a test, though, for Chris Ilitch. How hands-on do you want to be? How much do you want to spend? And then Scott Harris, he's done a really good job at a lot of the finer aspects of building an organization, but putting the finishing touches on the major league roster, I've always viewed that as the hardest thing to do. And sometimes that means that means you got to spend, I think.
Cody, why doesn't Chris spend like Mike?
I think it's also important to remember Mike Ilitch spent big for, less than 10 years toward the end of his life. He wanted to win a World Series, but Mike Ilitch owned the Tigers in the 90s, and they didn't really act like that. And in the early 2000s, maybe to some degree, when they signed Pudge Rodriguez, that was a huge deal. But it wasn't really until later in his life and his ownership of the Tigers that he spent at that level of aggression. So it was abnormal, and it wasn't his entire ownership. Chris Ilitch clearly just doesn't view things the same way his dad did toward the end there.
Yeah, but that's when they started winning, is when they signed Pudge and they signed Maglio and they had Justin Verlander and they brought Kenny Rogers back and they went and got Carlos Guillen and they went and got Placido Polanco and they went and got all these guys, Max Scherzer and Porcello and David Price. And that's when the Tigers were good. Maybe they should look in the mirror and be like, we were good. And starting 06, because 04 they weren't very good when they got Pudge. 05, but then 06 when they all started coming together, that's when they went to the World Series. And then obviously they had that great run in the 2010-ish. Trust me, I played against all those guys. They went and got Miggy Cabrera, paid him. They went and got Dontrell, and they paid him even though he didn't work out, right? But they did these things, and that was how they won. And Comerica can be awesome. I've seen it. And thank God they got a new – well, they didn't get a new scoreboard. They moved the scoreboard so you can now actually see it. So they've done some good things there.
Yeah, they did all that, and they got to the World Series twice, and they didn't win it. And so unfortunately, I think that is like ammunition for the newer class executives who would say, why should we do all that? And then having to risk tear it down, or we could operate like this and make the playoffs in back-to-back years and think that we're going to continue to get better. Now, obviously, there are a million cautionary tales of examples that didn't quite work out. The Orioles last year, even the Cubs, who did win a World Series, they thought they had the makings of a dynasty, and that thing fell apart pretty quickly. And it wasn't necessarily that they were, they were willing to spend in Chicago too, but I think that's one of the more fascinating, like, philosophical debates, because everyone wants to spend, and I think the Tigers are at a point where they need to get serious about spending a little bit more. But I don't know. You can spend your heart out, and sometimes it still doesn't work.
Yeah, look at the Mets. Cody, we appreciate you taking the time to be with us today on all things Tigers. Have a good offseason. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you. Don't forget, you can check out Tiger Territory with Cody and Kieran Steckley on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be right back with Looking Ahead.
BetMGM futures odds. We're looking today at the 26th AL pennant, specifically the Astros at plus 650. I mean, if I'm ever getting plus 650 on the Astros, I feel like I have to put some money in. I don't think I'm going to put money in yet at this time because I want to see what they're doing. They're a little thin in some areas. They're a little thin in their starting rotation. They're a little thin in their bullpen. How's Hader going to come back? What does that look like for them? And to me, there's other value in the American League. But the Astros, 8 out of 9 years in the playoffs, 650 is right on that border. Maybe a little thin for me. I'd like to see it maybe a little bit higher, but I was looking at who else there is. The Red Sox are at 800. The Blue Jays at 1,000. To me, the money is really once you get down to the Orioles and Rangers. Orioles at 1,300 and the Rangers at 1,600.
AJ, the only team that has better odds are the Yankees and the Mariners. Are you taking plus 650 for the Astros?
No. There's
Okay.
There's too much work to be done there. And listen, we had Joe Espada on, and I love Joe Espada. I think he's a great, unbelievably gifted manager and communicator. But they just have a lot of holes right now. And let's not forget, they're the second highest, and third highest. They didn't even make the playoffs last year. Okay, and they lose Fromber, and they lose some other pieces. So I don't think. I think it's not. If it was more like plus 1,000, then I'd more think about it. But right now, where they stand, they're just not. They're not there for me right now.
All right. What would have to change? Who do they need to get We'll talk about it later. All right. Coming up, we're talking about this exclusive Missouri pre-registration offer. Get up to $1,500 paid back in bonus bets if you don't win, plus $100 in bonus bets if you deposit before December 1st. Sign up for BetMGM Sports during the pre-registration period, and you will receive $100 in bonus bets on the first day BetMGM Sports goes live in Missouri. Plus the first bet offer, $1,500 acquisition promotion. Pre-registration plus first bet offer acquisition promo for BetMGM Sportsbook. Bonus bets expire in 7 days and are non-withdrawable. First bet offer token will expire 7 days after being issued. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. All right, we are looking ahead. Let's talk about Jorge Polanco and his future. Now, the Boston Red Sox might want him. This is from Salmon and Ken Rosenthal's column. The Red Sox may want him, guys, if they do, in fact, lose third baseman Alex Bregman. The Blue Jays might be a fit if they lose Bo Bichette. And those are just two of the possibilities. Where do you see Polanco landing, AJ?
Seattle. Yeah. And the Red Sox are always in on everybody. That's the whole running joke on the show, Alanna. The Red Sox are, we tried. We never got across the finish line, right? So I think Seattle was a great fit for him last year. He really reinvented himself, had a great year. He fits in that. I mean, think about the big hits he got. So I think Seattle, I mean, a lot of teams would like Jorge Polanco. He's a switch hitter with power that can play. He can play second for you. He can also probably play first or third if you need him to in a pinch. So I think there's a lot of fit, but I'd love to see him back in Seattle.
Yeah, I think it's easy. I think it's an easy fit there. I don't see how long that contract's going to be. So I feel like he slides into that space where it's got to be a team that doesn't really need a lot of pitching help, they need to add some offense. I agree. Back to Seattle.
Okay, Mackenzie Gore, the lefty, under club control with the Nats for 2 more seasons with the projected arbitration number of $4.7 million. Would seem a more obvious candidate for the Nats to move, guys. They have a new manager. They're still in rebuild. You guys said yesterday that the Washington Nationals are irrelevant. Where do you see Mackenzie Gore ending up, AJ?
Prove me wrong that they're relevant, and then we'll talk about them. But for $4.5 million, you know where he should stay? Right where he's at in Washington. I mean, come on, that's nothing. This guy's pretty good. He gets you a punch out. He'll win you some games if they could just figure out a way to score him any kind of runs. I think he stays there. I mean, where's he going to end up? I mean, would they get stuff for him? Sure, but I think he should stay right there because at some point Washington is going to have to build around somebody. Is it Wood? Is it Gore? Is it Abram? Who's it going to be? I mean, they signed Kybert Ruiz. He's been hurt since they signed him to that. So who do they build around? Mackenzie Gore is a pretty good piece to start at, and I would try to lock him up for a long term and say, hey, at least we have one pitcher we can count on.
What if it's Gore and Abrams in a package deal?
A big league shortstop. Obviously, CJ Abrams has, maybe some more growing up to do, but he's growing up in the big leagues and he puts up big time numbers. So, I mean, if you need a shortstop, how would both of those guys look in Atlanta? Obviously, they would love some more left-handed pitching. They would love a starting pitcher that's, coming off a healthy year. To me, I feel like I know this will never happen, but it feels like if you ever been to like a white elephant gift where they you go in the middle and you pick a gift, if somebody's picked a gift 3 times, it can't be exchanged. If you were in a package for a prospect, for a elite superstar like Juan Soto, you were traded to that team because the team wanted to not re-sign that guy and they wanted to rebuild. He's not even done his 6 years yet. And they're talking about trading him. It's wasn't this? I get it. Teams fail on this kind of stuff, but he was supposed to be one of the pieces and is one of those pieces. Instead of saying, "Oh, we got to take a step back and get rid of C.J. Abrams. We got to take a step back and just see what's out there. We're gonna have a player development manager." No, keep him. He can be a number 2 or number 3. and start adding pieces, which they should have done last offseason, is my opinion. But look, if Mackenzie Gore is really available, it's going to cost a lot, and I don't know that teams are going to be willing to pay that much because his numbers kind of fell off a little bit throughout the year last year. At the beginning of the year, he's leading the league in strikeouts. Still ended up with like almost 200 strikeouts. So to me, the value's there.
I mean, he's young. He's 27, right? And Paul Taboni, the new president of baseball operations, because, of course, the Nats just went through a huge front office overhaul, thinks he can take it to the next gear. What would that next gear be, guys? What does he need to do to get even more elite?
Limit his walks a little bit and go deeper into games. He doesn't go that – if you look at his numbers, he doesn't go that deep because he strikes a lot of guys out and has a lot of deep counts. So I think figuring out how to go deeper into games is the big thing for me that I think teams look at. But listen, Mackenzie Gore could be a good, really special pitcher in this league for a long time, for the next, however long you want to have him. And, geez, I mean, you joke that we said the Nats are irrelevant. They just made a rebuild. They just did a rebuild, right, when they traded Juan Soto. Here we are again a couple years later. They're doing it again and again. And it's like at some point figure it out. That's it. New front office, learn or sell the team if that's what you want to do, and figure it out because rebuild. Come on.
I think when I watch Mackenzie Gore, he's not Tarek Skubal level, but he has stuff that is swing and miss, and I think he chases swing and miss out of the zone more often than he needs to. Is that a change in his approach? Does he need to get confidence that he can get those outs in the zone? But I think his stuff, because it comes from that awkward angle, that his strikeouts can be in the zone. To me, I would encourage him to not just empty the tank right out of the gate and start to really pitch and be a different look each time through the order.
We're slapping hands next. Stay with us. This is pretty funny. So Chandler Rome, apparently, who's a co-host, of course, of Crush City Territory, read angry messages he got after revealing his AL MVP vote. Now, he voted for Judge as the AL MVP, but take a listen to this.
This specimen said, "Are you really that butthurt that the Mariners won the AL West over your Astros that you decided to vote Judge out of spite? This is why you are fake news and why we don't trust the media anymore. You guys have agendas, and that's why newspapers are dead and why people don't watch ESPN or the news anymore. It's people like you that make it possible. Stay woke about the Mariners defeating your Astros in the AL West. We just got started. We are going to be a dynasty soon, while the Astros, spelled with an extra S, are a team in decline." So appreciate Leslie reaching out.
That's what I love about that, though, is that he actually smiled. Chandler Rome actually smiled while he was reading a mean tweet, AJ Pierzynski. Do you read mean tweets of yourself? Do you watch social media at all? Nah.
Do you think I care? Do you think I care? No. I think it's hilarious. I when I call a game all the time, people write all this stuff, and even on the comments on the stuff we put out on this show, and people are like, "Oh, this guy did this and this." I'm like, come on. Like, I find it funny that people take time out of their day and waste energy on trying to insult people that they're watching on TV. Like, if you have a differing opinion, then you can say, I don't agree with you, but then they just take these personal shots and you're just like, dude, come on. Like,
that's social media, though. It's like keyboard warriors that live in their parents' basement. Anybody can be big time when they're behind a keyboard and you don't have to say it face to face.
My favorite is when they'll say something like, "Kratz, what an idiot. He only hit 209, negative WAR player." And then they're like, "But I like Alanna, and AJ's an idiot too." Like, it's just like just throwing standard barbs there because I said something about their organization. Bring it on. I can take it.
Yeah, I've asked a couple of people like Joe Davis, who of course does World Series on Fox and main baseball guy, as you know, AJ Pierzynski. He deleted social media, got off of it. Dave Roberts deleted it. People delete it. Get off of it. It's bad. It's bad.
It's entertaining. It's entertaining for me.
It is.
Oh,
I don't take
it
myself
is.
seriously enough.
We're going to ask Kratz what he's wearing next. It probably sucks. Hashtag Kratz sucks. All right, time now to slap hands, everybody. Erik Kratz, what is on your noggin? What are you wearing today? Is that because Espada was
when
on?
I played there? It's because Joe was on. And
That's
it's
nice.
actually it's a nice orange. They did a little two-tone here.
Yeah, nice.
I appreciate it. Hashtag Megamind.
Hashtag see you tomorrow. Hashtag Scott Braun is back. Thanks for letting me be with you, boys. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you guys tomorrow. See ya.